Yeah, it's so when you were showing me that and it starts bringing back like all these like old Photoshop thoughts and ideas
Yeah.
because I was always in like I was never and still am not like a real like computer techie guy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
more the tinker guy, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah.
go the techie route because I'm using technical gear, you know. But really, I'm not the computer kind of guy, you know. So I've always envied the my friends who did Photoshop and Illustrator. I'm like, dude, that's in my head, but for some reason I don't want to take the time and use that part of my brain to learn those certain tools, you know? So it's interesting when I see something like this last app you just showed where you can be creative without having to have those same tools that you used to have 15 years ago.
It's like I've thought of so many different analogies for that because there really are endless ones. It's like, do you have to be? Oh, here's a new one. Shit, here you're talking about this feedback loop. Just because I can't describe to you what I do, like just because I can't describe my profession to you in Spanish, and let's say we're in a Spanish speaking country and everyone's speaking Spanish, no one speaks English. It doesn't mean that I can't explain what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything. It just means I can't explain it to you. I don't have that in my tool belt, the language that can communicate that to you.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to show you it. I would have to other means besides speaking.
Right.
And I feel like there's a lot of that talent that sort of goes to the graveyard because there was never that tool. There was never that bridge. There was never that method, that communication method. It doesn't mean it wasn't there. It just
Right.
it wasn't expressed. And like tools like this are going to lower that barrier just to the point there is none. There's a
Yeah. It's
is it going to turn to
interesting, huh?
Terminator? Just a whole
Yeah.
different topic, right? But
Is that like the same thing as like where you know, like I mean, we still say it now, but like anybody with an iPhone can be a photographer. Anybody with a iPhone could be a cinematographer, videographer. You know, and it's like no, but it does level the playing field a little bit because I mean, let's take TikTok for
okay,
instance.
okay,
Like when you go like you're bringing up comedy like comedy I think TikTok is like a great place for to see that comedy, right?
yeah,
You can see a lot of things, but
okay,
the comedy is interesting because it is a skill and you still have to take the time to edit or whatever. But let's just say that you don't have to edit because you're using Bazaar or whatever or Bazcar or whatever the thing, the AI, you
yeah,
know, let's say you're
AI,
just using AI for to help you edit. That still doesn't write the comedy. You know, it still doesn't put them in the seat. Like you're still doing it, you're still putting forth the effort. It's making it easier to produce,
yeah.
but you're still the creator, you know?
On that point, imagine if imagine if a 5-year-old you could listen to the amount of music that 30-year-old you can listen to, and what that would change. Imagine what Picasso would do if he could travel to where it took him 2 weeks, if he could travel there in 5 hours,
Right.
right? We're kind of trapped by our time and what's available to us in our time. But it finds a way out. Picasso's still Picasso, right? You are still like, it would be a different, I think, flow rate. Like it's still coming out, but the rate can be accelerated.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone, I think 100% is 100%, no matter what time period, no matter what technology it is, it's still going to be 100%. And that's what at least I focus on as a creator is like, am I just pushing at 100% with what I have? That's the measure of who makes it, who's successful, who people
Mm-hmm.
talk about. And like,
Right. It's the work. It's
it's the
still the
person.
work.
So it's like, there's still that person aspect,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't feel is being lost because of the advancement of these tools. It's just going to, if anything, 100% today is going to produce this. 100% tomorrow is going to produce that. But if you're just always 100,
You're making something.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
You're
And
making you're making more progress than somebody else who isn't. That's for sure.
And I don't think there's an unfair advantage either. Like that's the thing with Neuralink. I don't know if you
Neuralink.
Neuralink is the company. Another one, Elon Musk is
Mm.
it's a brain implant that increases your cognitive ability. And the far end claims are like you can communicate without talking. You basically can remember anything. Like just imagine your cognitive power on steroids. The question then is now, does that give people unfair advantages? Right? It's like saying,
Well, yeah.
it's like saying
I mean,
if you
right. I mean, is that a question? Is
Right.
that a question?
well
Does
then
it give you if it gives you everything you just said it does?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure.
But what if you were in a company where everyone had that level playing field? It's like, of
Right,
course,
but your company as a whole
will
then
have an
would be
advantage.
superior.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's always a bigger stick is the argument
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
in history. Someone has a bigger stick. When it comes down to fighting, like who got the
But
bigger
that's
stick?
kind of how it is, right?
That I feel is an unescapable universal truth. This is not necessarily a conversation about beliefs,
Right.
but I think what it highlights is technology. Where does it start and stop? Where does the creator start and stop?
Mhm.
I think no matter what creator you are, you're using your technology and you're putting 100% into it, you're going to be relevant. You're going to be successful in your
Mhm.
time, and you're going to have a following because people will see you as that leader, someone who's leading by example, who's doing it. And that will happen in your time, wherever you are. And so there's no like, I feel like if anything, the tools are going to make it clear, like who is, it does change the size of the pool, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that's why I love soccer and it is World Cup season. So that's always on my head right now, especially now with today's game. It's crazy. Just like yesterday's game was crazy, but
Did Costa Rica or Germany win?
both of them are going home.
Mm.
Yeah. Germany won, but it wasn't enough to make it through.
Dang.
Yeah. Japan won that group. Shout out to Japan.
Nice.
Ronaldo, right now, let's say he's the GOAT. Maybe he's on his outro, but let's just use him. Cristiano Ronaldo. Imagine how many Cristiano Ronaldos are out there who just never had, their parents just couldn't buy them shoes. Maybe they had to work, so they couldn't go and play. Maybe there wasn't enough fields. Maybe they grew up in someplace where the ground is covered in ice 10 months of the year,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's that innate power, potential that is expressed based on the environment. So there's that balance and play there.
Sure.
And I'm including technology in the environment, right? That's part of the environment. So it's like you could give the best environment to a lesser potential and see it equal the greater potential in a lesser environment. This is just another piece of that. This is going to be a huge part of the environment moving forward in this creator's environment. And so on the creator side, I think it's an advantage for those who have, let's say, less potential. There's a lower barrier to entry. There's less pain points you got to go through. You're not going to be cutting out the ums in this 1 hour podcast the way I was anymore. You know what I mean? So you don't even have to, you can skip that. And old heads will say, no, you don't do it. That's the old way. You don't learn, you don't have enough grit. You got to grind through it. It's like, I don't see you cutting ice out of the river and bringing it back for your cold beverage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like things change.
Yeah.
And
like, if you had to go back, would you really want to have to do that?
Right.
You want to work harder if you could work smarter?
And at the end of the day, I think that's how we can measure civilizations and bigger scales and countries and civilizations and generations is that collectiveness of it. Most of the people in this community, in this group, in this time, in this country had this amount of leverage on tools. And that's why they're this.
Right.
And are we moving in?
Right.
With the
It's leveling the playing field, so then if more people have the ability to create or to give themselves more wealth, whatever it is, it's like, that's a good thing.
To the earlier question, like I do think, what was your question? Like, are there more photographers because there's iPhones? What was it?
Yeah, like people are like, oh, anyone could be a photographer if they have an iPhone. It's like, I mean, maybe.
Technically, yeah, because you can take photos.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what every photographer.
But you think they're gonna stay on their iPhone? No, they might have been able to get a taste of photography because, oh man, I bought an iPhone and now I take pictures and oh, I realized I love photography.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's awesome.
And
Doesn't
you know
make him a good photographer. Doesn't make him a bad one.
they are a photographer the moment they take a photo.
Exactly. You're a skateboarder if you buy a skateboard.
Yeah.
You know?
If you, I think one good like line is, do you make money off of it
Oh well, yeah.
regularly? Do is that all you do? Can you afford like, then that's like photographer too. But you can be a hobbyist. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
You can be a hobbyist, enthusiast, and actually you could hang with the big boys, big girls. With these, because here's the thing: how are people consuming? Where is the content?
It's all on the phone.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think it's like the conversation about hip hop. It's not that it's not the same or that it's new or that it's different. It's just another time.
Yeah.
This hip hop in 2022 is not 2015, 2005, 1995, 1985. Like,
yeah,
it is all a hip hop timeline, and this is where we are today.
Yeah.